Horatio Bottomley owned all 6 runners in an official horse race on a Belgian beach. His accomplices placed large bets on the exact finishing order, since Bottomley hired the jockeys too. Jockeys and horses did their best. So, how did the ploy fail? I'll say it again. Horatio Bottomley owned all 6 runners in an official horse race on a Belgian beach. His accomplices placed large bets on the exact finishing order, since Bottomley hired the jockeys too. Jockeys and horses did their best. So, how did the ploy fail?
The beach is a bad place to do a race. So no one finished, and so the order, like everyone was DNF, so there's no order.
You were there, and then...
If everyone's DNF, normally the bets are just called off. If there's a complete disaster of a race, normally all bets are void, everyone just gets their stake back.
Right.
But Taha, you are right that a beach might not be the best place for a horse race.
And it's in Belgium, and that's also probably bad.
Well, just in general. That's
Just in general, I guess.
That's just Taha's opinion on Belgium.
I don't know much about horse racing.
Maybe the tide came in, and that was important, because...
They all sunk
Huh?
in the sand because it was wet.
I was just imagining the Titanic, but it's horses.
Oh, it's full never-ending story moment for everyone there.
No!
Sorry
Why
for giving that reference.
so sad, Tom?
Yeah, sorry. A load of our listeners all just went, oh. And the rest of them will look it up later and also go, oh.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to look it up.
But I will say that all of the jockeys finished the race on their mounts.
Oh. So they tried their best to be in the order that they wanted, that this guy, Horatio, wanted it to be. But they couldn't. Because the beach.
Because the beach.
It's not like it's a weird track. You can't get lost on a beach. You can't take the wrong path because it's a beach. It's a big open expanse of sand.
Were there like crabs on the beach or something? Did crabs like flood the track?
I genuinely wonder if a horse would care if there was a crab there.
Maybe they have a fear of crabs. Maybe there were snakes on the beach.
I could not tell you if there were snakes on the beach, Melissa.
Okay.
But if there were, the snakes did not impact the results.
Maybe the finish line was washed away.
Oh.
Ooh.
If the tide came in and washed away or any mark or anything like that, they just didn't know when they were finishing. But there was still...
They did finish. So there was a finish line.
And there was an official order, presumably, because
There was an official order. It just wasn't the order that Horatio wanted.
Oh no, Horatio.
Have y'all been on a beach recently?
Not recently.
The weather can get pretty whack by the water.
Is that a clue or just your opinion?
It's something of a clue. But you might be focusing a little bit too much on what's happening with the tide.
The sky, there was a storm.
Interesting.
And the sand...
And the sand, what happened to the sand, Melissa?
got wet. And... Okay,
You need to believe more in a horse's ability to move.
Maybe it got stuck. I don't know.
It's not quicksand.
Is it?
It wasn't quicksand.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
Oh, if it wasn't quicksand, then I think it might have been the opposite problem.
Slow sand.
Sand.
What if there was a sandstorm? What if they just couldn't see the finish line?
Oh.
I mean, you wouldn't run a horse race in a full sandstorm, like in a complete...
Do they have sandstorms on beaches?
In Belgium.
Fair point.
The certainty in your mind. You are on the right track. We're getting warmer. Might not have been a sandstorm. Might have been
What other
something
kinds
that's...
of weather are there?
Darude.
What?
Darude finished first, you see. That threw everything off.
Also, you wouldn't run a horse race in a sandstorm because it hurts. Like, you can't go out in a sandstorm.
The horses would
Right.
simply say no.
Yeah. Technically, they'd say nay, but, you know, that's
Hey.
that's justified. That's...
It wasn't something as violent as a sandstorm. It wasn't an anomaly. It's something that happens fairly often when you're out on the water. But it does impact, like Tom said, visibility.
Fog. Fog happens. dew.
You are as right as I would say that you can be. I made a very similar
How
mistake.
is fog and the beach? I'm putting my hands together. How do those cross?
Okay, Melissa, put it together. Put it together for me then. Imagine that you are on a beach. You're trying to go and finish in a very particular order, but then fog happens. You can't see. What happens then?
Is fog exclusive to the beach?
Well, it just happens there. It doesn't need to be exclusive.
You were making a really big point to be like the beach.
What I'm saying is weather can change quite drastically when you're on a waterfront, especially. Like, it can be perfectly clear at one moment, and then you just have zero visibility the next.
And there isn't like a track to follow if it's on a beach. It's not like you can see the fence that is hemming in the horses. If you go slightly in the wrong direction, you're lost until that fog clears on the next wind and then comes back on the next one.
Okay.
So basically, a sea breeze blew in, and so the jockeys couldn't see each other well enough to finish in the correct order. And as a result, Horatio Bottomley lost a fortune.
Oh, no.
Classic Horatio.
Classic Bottomley behavior. Just a couple more details on this. The race was held in Belgium, not because of Taha's personal beef with it, but because the regulations were more lax than in the UK. And although
That sounds like a valid reason to beef. Just saying.
And although Horatio was a member of parliament, he was also a serial fraudster. He sold worthless victory bonds after the end of World War I, and he was convicted of fraud in 1922 and sentenced to 5 years in prison.
That's what happens when you try to rig the horse race.
Classic Horatio.
Classic Horatio.